Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. There are moments in sports when a single decision can define not only a season, but an entire legacy. And right now, Dan Quinn is standing right in the middle of one of those moments. The Washington Commanders head coach, who once engineered a Super Bowl defense and nearly claimed a championship with the Atlanta Falcons before that unforgettable 28-3 collapse, now finds himself facing a different kind of disaster, one that has the potential to shape his tenure in Washington for years to come. It's the injury to Jayden Daniels, the rising star quarterback who had given this franchise hope, swagger, and a reason to believe. When Daniels went down late in a humiliating 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks, the life seemed to drain out of the Commanders' sideline, and maybe, just maybe, out of Quinn's command of this team. When Quinn spoke to reporters the following Monday, his expression said it all. He looked broken, hollow, and full of regret. He didn't make excuses, he didn't deflect. He took full accountability for leaving Daniels in the game when the score was long out of reach. "That's on me," he admitted, voice subdued, shoulders heavy. And that simple admission, while honest and admirable, might have opened the door to something much bigger. Because accountability in the NFL is good, until it becomes ammunition for critics and insiders hungry for the next hot seat storyline. And oh, have they come for him. Within hours, social media was ablaze with takes. Fans demanded answers, pundits replayed the injury in slow motion, and everyone seemed to ask the same question. Why was Jayden Daniels still on the field, down 38-7 with 7 minutes left? Enter Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, a man who never shies away from a controversial opinion. Florio didn't hold back. He compared Quinn's decision to that infamous Super Bowl meltdown, calling this moment Quinn's Washington version of 28-3. The words cut deep, because for Quinn, that collapse has followed him like a ghost for nearly a decade. And now, Florio suggests, this new chapter could end the same way, with Quinn losing not just a quarterback, but perhaps his job. Florio's take lit the match, and suddenly the Quinn debate exploded into the sports media ecosystem. Was this a reckless mistake, or just bad luck? Was Quinn protecting his players' competitive integrity, or was he blinded by pride? In the ruthless world of NFL narratives, perception often matters more than reality. And the perception right now is that Dan Quinn gambled with the future and lost. To be fair, the Commanders' season had already been teetering before this catastrophe. Key veterans like Marshawn Lattimore and Luke McCaffrey were already ruled out for the year, stripping Washington of depth on both sides of the ball. The locker room was bruised, the fan base frustrated, and the playoff picture was fading fast. But losing Daniels, the one bright light, the franchise cornerstone, turned frustration into despair. The young quarterback's dislocated elbow may not be a career-altering injury, but it's devastating enough to derail Washington's momentum and cast serious doubt on whether he'll return before 2026. For a fan base that's endured decades of instability at the quarterback position, this feels like déjà vu, another cruel twist of fate in a saga that just won't end. And that's where the conversation takes a turn from despair to desperation. Because with Daniels out, Washington suddenly finds itself staring down a familiar problem. Who's next up under center? Marcus Mariota, the veteran backup, is a capable athlete, sure, but he's also been inconsistent, plagued by accuracy issues and an inability to sustain drives. The Commanders' offense, which thrived on Daniels' mobility and improvisation, now faces an identity crisis. Enter the whispers, the rumors, the trade machine simulations. And that's when a name popped back into the headlines. A name Commanders fans know all too well: Kirk Cousins. Yeah, you heard that right. Kirk Cousins, the man once synonymous with the Washington franchise's frustrations and franchise tag drama, might just be the guy to save them, at least temporarily. Reports from Clutch Points and NFL insiders suggest that the Commanders are exploring a potential trade with the Atlanta Falcons to bring Cousins back to D.C. The irony writes itself. The very quarterback Washington once let go might now be their best hope for survival. It makes sense, though. Cousins, now 37, is wasting away on the Falcons' bench behind Michael Penix Jr., the young phenom they've anointed as their future. Atlanta has little incentive to keep an expensive, aging backup on the payroll, especially when his $27.5 million salary cap hit is clogging their books. For Washington, the calculus is simple. They need someone who can stabilize the ship, command the huddle, and keep the offense functional while Daniels recovers. Cousins checks all those boxes. He's experienced, he's familiar with pressure, and say what you want about his playoff record, but the man knows how to move an offense efficiently. The rumored trade offer floating around is modest but fair: a 2026 fourth-round pick, a 2026 fifth-round pick, and $2 million in cash considerations in exchange for Cousins and a late-round pick swap. It's not a blockbuster deal, but it's a lifeline, one that could keep Washington's playoff hopes alive. For the Falcons, it's a clean break. They'd shed salary, stockpile draft capital, and fully hand the reins to Penix Jr. For the Commanders, it's about damage control. They can't afford to let the season slip away while waiting on Daniels to heal. Still, this move would be more than just a roster adjustment. It would be symbolic. Bringing back Cousins would be like reopening an old chapter, forcing Washington's fan base to reconcile with the past. Remember, Cousins was once the face of this team, the franchise tag king, the man whose departure sparked years of quarterback carousel chaos. Bringing him back now would feel poetic, almost cinematic, a full-circle moment for both sides. But in the NFL, sentimentality doesn't win games. Results do, and Dan Quinn knows that better than anyone. Now, here's where things get really interesting. If Quinn pulls the trigger on this trade and Cousins delivers, say, keeps Washington competitive, maybe even sneaks into the playoffs, the narrative shifts completely. Suddenly, Quinn goes from being the guy who made a costly mistake to the coach who saved the season through decisive leadership. But if it backfires? If Cousins struggles, if the locker room loses faith, if Daniels' recovery stalls, then this becomes the beginning of the end for Quinn in Washington. Florio's shortened stay prophecy could come true faster than anyone expects. What's undeniable is that Quinn's leadership is being tested like never before. Last year's magical run to the NFC Championship game now feels like a distant memory. Injuries, regression, and questionable roster management have exposed cracks in what was once a promising foundation. This team, built to contend, suddenly looks fragile. And in the high-stakes, high-pressure world of professional football, fragility is fatal. But here's the thing. Football is about redemption as much as it is about failure. Quinn's been here before. He stared down the critics, endured the memes, and rebuilt his reputation. He knows what it's like to have the world doubt him, and that's why some still believe he can navigate this storm. Jayden Daniels, even from the sidelines, remains a believer too. Those two have built a genuine bond, one rooted in respect and trust. The hope, maybe even the prayer, in Washington is that this latest ordeal doesn't fracture that relationship. As fans, we love the drama, the chaos, the storylines that feel bigger than the game itself. And make no mistake, this one has everything. A fallen hero, a desperate coach, a controversial decision, and a potential reunion with a quarterback from the past. It's Shakespearean, it's cinematic, it's pure NFL theater. Whether this ends in triumph or tragedy, we'll be talking about it for a long time. So where does that leave the Commanders today? Teetering between crisis and opportunity. If they act quickly, bring in Cousins, and rally around Quinn, they might just salvage something out of this mess. If not, the season could unravel completely, and with it, Dan Quinn's tenure in Washington. The pressure is suffocating, the clock is ticking, and every move from here on out will be scrutinized under a microscope. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about legacy, leadership, and the fine line between courage and recklessness. Dan Quinn's decision to keep Jayden Daniels in a blowout game might go down as one of those moments that coaches look back on for the rest of their lives. But the story isn't over yet. Washington still has a chance to flip the script, to turn disaster into defiance. And if they do, maybe, just maybe, this will be remembered not as the end of Quinn's story, but as the beginning of his redemption. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Big news is shaking the NFC East and the entire NFL landscape today, and it's the kind of move that makes fans stop mid-scroll, open their jaws, and maybe even spill their coffee. ESPN has confirmed what has been swirling as a persistent rumor over the past week. Trey Hendrickson, one of the league's most disruptive pass rushers, is officially signing with the Washington Commanders. Now, before we all get too carried away, let's take a step back and really unpack what this means, not just for the Commanders, but for the entire division and potentially the league as a whole. This isn't just another free agent signing. This is a seismic shift, one that could rewrite rivalries, change playoff dynamics, and force quarterbacks across the East to sleep with one eye open. The rumors weren't exaggerating, and now it's official. Hendrickson is on the move, and the ripples are already spreading. For those who have been following the story, Hendrickson has been one of the most coveted edge rushers in free agency. Known for his ability to bend around the edge, dominate the quarterback, and create chaos on a weekly basis, he's the kind of player that elevates a defense from good to elite. Fans of the Commanders have been dreaming of this moment, and now it's here. The excitement isn't just about one player, though. It's about what he brings to the locker room, the kind of leadership that can inspire a younger defensive line, and the strategic nightmares he presents for opposing offenses. The whispers in league circles have been impossible to ignore, and today, they've become reality. Analysts are already speculating that Hendrickson could transform the Commanders into one of the most feared defenses in the NFC. And the timing couldn't be more dramatic. The NFC East has been a hotbed of competition for years, with each team jockeying for supremacy. The Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants. All of them are now staring down a division rival that just added arguably the most impactful defensive weapon available this offseason. Imagine Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Daniel Jones all knowing that on any given Sunday, Hendrickson could be tearing through their offensive lines, turning routine plays into disasters, and forcing quarterbacks to rethink their approach entirely. It's not just a signing. It's a psychological advantage, a looming threat that will affect game planning and potentially the outcomes of crucial matchups. The division isn't just shaken, it's rattled. The intrigue doesn't stop there. Hendrickson's move to Washington also raises questions about how the Commanders will structure their defense around him. Will they double down on his strengths, allowing him to roam freely and wreak havoc? Or will defensive coordinator strategies shift to maximize the pressure on quarterbacks while keeping coverage tight? Rumors suggest that the coaching staff is already in talks to craft schemes tailored to Hendrickson's unique abilities, and insiders say that this kind of personalization could make Washington's defense a nightmare for even the most creative offensive coordinators. The implications go far beyond just sacking quarterbacks. This signing could redefine the way teams approach the NFC East, forcing rival coaches to innovate on the fly and rethink entire offensive playbooks. Of course, every big signing comes with its share of speculation and debate. Critics are already questioning how Hendrickson will fit into the existing defensive roster, whether the chemistry will develop quickly enough, and if Washington is truly poised to capitalize on this investment. But the overwhelming sentiment among fans and analysts alike is optimism. This is exactly the kind of bold, statement-making move that can change the trajectory of a franchise. Imagine the Commanders lining up against division rivals, Hendrickson exploding off the edge, and the crowd erupting as quarterbacks scramble for their lives. It's the kind of moment that fuels highlight reels, sparks social media debates, and makes sports talk radio come alive for weeks on end. And let's not ignore the ripple effect this signing is likely to have across the league. Free agency is a domino effect, and Hendrickson's decision to join the Commanders might set off a chain reaction. Other teams in need of pass rushing help are now on high alert, scouting potential trades or signings to match Washington's new firepower. The NFC East isn't the only division watching this unfold. Every team that hopes to contend with the Commanders will have to adjust, rethink priorities, and potentially overpay in future negotiations just to keep pace. The buzz is real, and insiders are already whispering that Hendrickson could be the difference maker in the playoff picture, turning a team that was once middling into a serious contender seemingly overnight. Meanwhile, fans are in full-on frenzy mode. Social media is lit with speculation about what jersey number Hendrickson will wear, which teammates he'll vibe with, and how quickly he'll make an impact. Betting lines are shifting, fantasy football analysts are recalculating projections, and everyone from casual viewers to diehard aficionados is debating whether this signing signals a new era for Washington football. There's even chatter about the cultural impact within the locker room. Veterans welcoming a high-caliber player, younger players learning from his experience, and the entire team rallying behind a symbol of defensive dominance. The Commanders aren't just adding talent. They're sending a message to the entire league. Washington is back in the conversation, and they're here to compete at the highest level. And yet, beneath the excitement lies a layer of tension. The NFL is nothing if not unpredictable, and Hendrickson's arrival doesn't automatically guarantee dominance. Injuries, chemistry issues, and the unpredictable nature of game day matchups always lurk as potential spoilers. But if the whispers are accurate, and if Hendrickson delivers anything close to his established reputation, the Commanders could be looking at a transformative season. Analysts are already spinning scenarios in which Hendrickson's presence forces opposing teams into uncomfortable decisions, creating mismatches, turnovers, and opportunities that simply weren't there before. The domino effect doesn't stop at the field either. Media coverage, fan engagement, merchandise sales, and local buzz are all poised for a dramatic uptick. Washington is suddenly the center of attention, and it all started with one bold signing. As the news settles in and the league digests the implications, one thing is clear. Trey Hendrickson to the Commanders isn't just a rumor anymore. It's a headline that will be talked about for months. The NFC East is now a battlefield with a new predator on the prowl, and the entire NFL is watching closely. Coaches, players, and fans alike are adjusting expectations, preparing for the shockwaves, and speculating about the first game where Hendrickson unleashes his full arsenal. It's the kind of signing that defines a season before it even begins, a move that sparks endless debate, analysis, and yes, a little healthy paranoia among rivals. This is what makes football thrilling, the unexpected, the bold, and the dramatic. And today, Washington has taken a step that could very well change the story of the 2025 season entirely. Trey Hendrickson is in the nation's capital, the Commanders are buzzing, and the NFC East? Well, it will never be the same again. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.